What is up, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nick Palladino. I'm 26 years old and I currently live in Los Angeles, California. This is going to be a new channel of mine. For those of you guys that don't know me, I actually have a fitness YouTube channel. It's actually what I do for a living is I'm a personal trainer. I own an online personal training business and that's how I make the majority of my money. But this channel is going to be the complete opposite. It's going to be more of a real estate based YouTube channel. I currently have 2 rental properties in Phoenix, Arizona. That's actually where I'm at right now. I actually took a trip down here from Los Angeles to check on my 2 rentals. I wanted to dedicate this video to talk to you guys a little bit about my 2 rental properties, how I saved up enough money for the income, what the banks look for loans, and how I got approved for my 2 rental properties, and kind of just a little bit of backstory on my passion for real estate. So I bought my first rental property right across the street from Grand Canyon University, July of 2019, which is just about 9 months ago. I bought that property for $210,000. There was a little bit of negotiating. We put in an offer, me and my real estate agent put in an offer at $208,000. This house was listed at $220,000 and they countered that night at $209,900. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna say it's $210,000. Overall, from when I saw the property to when I closed on the property and it was officially mine was about 31 days. It was a very, very quick process. There wasn't a lot of issues. The main thing that I wanted to talk about, especially at my age and especially as owning my own business and not having like a normal 9-to-5 job, it was a little bit harder and more difficult for me to get a loan. There's just a lot more hoops that I had to jump through, but I still was able to get a loan for not only this property, but for my second property that's actually down the street from my first property. So I wanted to first talk about how I got approved for the loan. So the first thing you want to do when purchasing a house, before you even go look at houses, is really just try to figure out how much you're qualified for in terms of how much the bank will loan you to buy a house. Obviously, you're gonna need money set aside that you made to put a down payment on the property. If it's an investment property, generally you have to put down 20%. The bank won't usually let you go anywhere under 20%. Sometimes they'll make you go even more, which my second rental property I had to put down 25%, which I'll explain why in a little bit. But this rental property, I actually had to save up enough money for 20% down. 20% of $210,000 is about, I think it was like $42,000, but that's not including closing costs. You guys have to take into consideration when you're buying a property that there's gonna be extra expenses tagged along besides the actual purchase price of the property. Generally, a good rule of thumb, I believe, is like 3 to 5% as a buyer of a property that you're gonna have to pay on top of whatever the house property is. So to close on this house out of pocket that I had to take out of my bank account was $50,000, give or take a couple $100. Obviously, since this is a rental property, I had to get it rental ready, so I had to buy a washer and dryer, I had to buy a fridge for this property. My loan for this property was $166,000. So now going into the approval process, like I said, before you even look at properties, you want to get pre-approved to see what kind of loan you can actually, how much of a house you can actually afford. You don't want to waste the real estate agent's time, and a lot of the times the agent actually won't even show you properties until they know how much you're qualified for, because the last thing you want to do is go look at a bunch of properties that you can't even afford, or the bank won't give you the amount of money you need to actually buy the property. So you want to find a mortgage broker or a lender that you can get pre-approved from. So they'll probably just get some basic information from you. They'll want a 2-year work history. As an independent contractor, I own my own business. That was a little bit more difficult. My income sources, I guess to keep it short, come from a bunch of different things. And for them, it was a lot harder for them to understand that. So it took a little bit more work for me to get approved. But the main thing they're gonna look for is your 2-year income history. They wanna make sure that you have a steady, consistent income. They're also gonna look at your DTI, which is debt to income ratio. This is very, very important in getting a loan as well. There's a certain percent that they look for. It's basically how much money you're taking in each month or how much money you're making compared to how much debt you have or how much money you're paying each month for debts. For me, I was lucky enough to have a car paid off. I have for those of you guys that know me, I have a 10-year-old car that has 60,000 miles. It has a dent in the side of it. It's probably worth a couple grand now. But lucky enough, I didn't buy a new car, so I didn't have any car payments. I don't have any credit card debt. I don't have a car payment. So they looked at me and they're like, your DTI is basically nothing. That looked really, really good for the banks, and that's actually a big reason why I got approved. And then the third thing that the banks look for, a lot of you guys already know that. A lot of you guys hear this pretty much every day, but it is your credit score. So generally, I think the number, the cutoff line is if you have a 740 or above, you're generally going to get the best interest rate. Luckily for me, I started building building my credit. If you guys don't have a credit card, I highly suggest you guys get one of those credit cards. You guys get a credit card and start building your credit as early as you can. Building your credit is so important. And I had a card payment for a while. I could have paid the car in full, but I wanted to build a little bit of credit up. So I had my car for a couple of years before I fully paid it off, and that actually was able to get my credit score. I think right now it's just at 800, so I was able to qualify for the best interest rate possible. So those are the three main things: making sure you have a down payment, making sure that you have a good steady 2-year history of work, making sure that your DTI is good, your debt to income ratio, or don't have any debt or minimum debt, at least minimize it. If you have like a little bit of here and there, I'd try to pay it off. Your credit score, and then the last thing is they will look at your bank statements as well if it comes down to it. They had a really good look at my bank statements because like I said, they had some issues with my 2-year income history because I have so many different income sources. So they looked at my bank statements, and lucky enough, I had enough savings in my checking account. I had enough money in my checking account. I had enough money in my 2 stock market accounts and in my IRA account that they're like, okay, he's got a little bit of money, so if things go south, at least he'll have like some cushion. So I think that helped me a ton too, was just having like some good bank statements and showing that I actually had the money available, because they're definitely going to look at that as well. So passing that, once you get pre-approved, once you buy a property, like I said, these are rental properties. I am renting my first property out to GCU students, or Grand Canyon University students, basically college students. And that was a big thing for me. I really wanted to get a property that was as close to campus as possible. So when I came to Arizona with my agent, I looked at a bunch of different universities, and I was looking at properties around the area. I was really attracted to Grand Canyon University because it's actually not the nicest area, and for that reason, I would say it's an up-and-coming area. As the campus expands, it's getting nicer and nicer, but for that reason, the housing prices around the campus are still ridiculously cheap. So I was able to get that 4-bedroom house for $210,000, and keep in mind, since I'm renting this to students and not a family, I'm renting it per room. I can make so much more money having 4 different leases on the property as opposed to like just one family. Granted, it is a lot more work, and I'm realizing that now, owning the property for 9 months now, it's a lot of work, but the cash flow for this property specifically is about $500 a month more than what I would get if I rented it to a family. So to give you guys some numbers here, bought it for $210,000. Down payment was $50,000, and I have it rented for $1,800 a month. I'll break down more specific numbers in a different video, but I'm just kind of going to go through the basics here. I really like student rentals, and that's actually why I purchased my second property. My second property is 14 houses down. It's about a 45-second walk from my first property. And the reason why I was so excited about this one is because I already had my first property for a few months. I think I had it for 7 months at the time, and everything was running so smooth. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. The second property came to market. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. The square footage was pretty much the exact same, minus like 50 square feet on it. Comparing the two houses, it was really easy for me to run the numbers and be like, I can probably charge the same amount of rent for this house. Everything's pretty much identical. I can get 4 other students in this house. So I had a lot more confidence going into this property, knowing how fast I can rent it. I knew there was a demand for student housing at the university. I knew how much I can get for it because it's pretty much the exact same house as the one that I owned before. I closed on this house February of 2020 at 26 years old. So this one actually just closed. My second property just closed about a month and a half ago, and I actually just got my 4 new students into this property a week ago. I think April 1st was the first month of rent that was due. Granted, for those of you guys that are watching it right now, we are going through a crazy time right now with the coronavirus. There is a little bit of issues with rent being paid, but I'll talk about that in another video. But I'm renting that for $1,752 a month. Now, you guys may think that it's less each month, but because this is my second rental property, the banks wanted more of a down payment. They saw me as more of a liability because I have $166,000 of debt on my first property, so they made me put down a bigger down payment. So I had to put down 25%. I bought this house for $200,000, 25% of $200,000. After closing costs, I believe I put down $57,000. This house did require a little bit more work on it as well. So all in on this house, I'm in about $65,000 to $70,000, I believe, to have it rent ready. I had to do a lot more work. I obviously had to buy a fridge, I had to buy a washer and dryer, I had to do a few other things in there, which I'll talk about later. My mortgage payment is less because I put more down on this house. I'm renting this house for $1,752. I'm renting my first property for $1,800. So every single month, I'm taking in about $3,500 before expenses. So that, for me, is a big reason why I started investing, is because I wanted something that would give me constant cash flow, something that was consistent, that had sustainability, and that had longevity to it. For those guys that don't know me, I grew up modeling full time. I lived in Miami for some time. I lived in New York. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I currently live in Los Angeles. So I was back and forth pretty much after I graduated high school up until when I was 23 years old, or 3 years ago. I was traveling, modeling. I had my YouTube channel. I had my personal training business. And all those things allowed me to save up enough money to buy 2 properties at 26 years old. Because of the current situation in the world right now with the coronavirus and the crisis, I am actually currently in the market for a 3rd rental property as well if the price is right. You never know what the situation is going to be. You never know if an opportunity is going to present itself. So my biggest takeaway is from this whole real estate thing is save up as much as you can for as long as you can, because you never know when an opportunity is going to present itself. And if you don't have the money, you don't have the capital to take advantage of that opportunity, it's going to pass by. So my biggest thing, I'm really happy that I didn't buy a fancy car right now, which it's a goal of mine. I definitely don't want to drive my 10-year-old Scion TC for the rest of my life. But what allowed me to buy these 2 properties was just consistently saving, living below my means, living a more frugal life, saving as much as possible. If I went and bought a bunch of stuff, or if I went and got a really luxurious apartment in Los Angeles, I honestly probably wouldn't have enough money to buy these 2 properties. So I'm very grateful to be in a situation I am, and I'm super excited to see where this takes me. I hope you guys are looking forward to this journey on this new YouTube channel. For those of you guys that already know me, for those of you guys that are new, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you could drop a like, it would really help the channel out. I know how important the YouTube algorithm is for new channels exposure, so if you guys could drop a like on this video, it would really help me out. If I missed anything, you guys have any questions, comment down below. I'm gonna get back to every single one of you guys, and I will see you in the next video. If you guys have any video suggestions, comment down below.